I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Superior residents elected a new mayor this week to serve the remaining 2 years of Mayor Bruce Hagan's term. Mayor-elect Jim Payne is with us in the studio tonight.
Warmer weather can only mean one thing: road construction season right around the corner. We will update you on some major road projects in our region.
And we'll have the week's business headlines and bring you a news file story from 25 years ago.
It's all up next on Almanac North. Hello again and welcome to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. And Julie, we are seeing a real nice warm-up for early April. I think finally winter's back has been broken and spring is truly in the air.
I think so. The robins are back. It's all starting to be pretty sloppy and...
Sounds like spring.
It does sound like spring.
Okay, you're up next.
All right, we do have some good guests lined up. Thanks, Denny. Superior residents elected a new mayor this week, months after current mayor Bruce Hagan announced his resignation. Hagan agreed to stay on as mayor until the April election and has since revealed he is suffering from a terminal illness. The winner Tuesday was Jim Payne, vice chair of the Douglas County Board, who will become mayor later this month. And welcome. Thanks for being here. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Mayor Payne, what motivated you to run for this position?
Well, I care about my city, and I believe that I had a great deal of experience and a lot to offer, so I stepped up to help move the community forward. I think this was something that I took on 2 years ago as well, and with the mayor resigning, it felt like another opportunity to make some exciting changes in Superior.
We are starting to see younger politicians. Why do you think you won, and by hundreds of votes?
Well, I think energy and passion and vision had a lot to do with it. We put forward what I think was a strong agenda for Superior, and voters really responded to that. Of course, we have a lot of challenges in Superior, and voters talked about that when I was talking to them. But when you really press them deeper, people in Superior, I think, wanted to care about their community. They felt very passionate about a city that has a lot of beauty and a lot of opportunity. And I am obviously very passionate about that community, and I have a lot of energy, and I think they responded to that.
Mm-hmm. You said that there are some challenges. What do you see as the biggest ones?
Well, of course, we have a very serious drug problem throughout the Twin Ports that we need to work on. But with a lot of our other challenges, economic and cultural, I think that we can find a lot of opportunities in there as well, especially when I've seen other political campaigns over the last few years. We've talked a lot about how much of a challenge our aging housing stock is. To me, I see old as historic as much as old. And so I saw an opportunity to beautify the city and to help people become homeowners and invest in their community.
So when you talk about the housing stock, Jim, are you talking about we have a need to build new homes, or what would you like to see done with the housing stock?
There are a number of things that we need to do. Of course, it's great to build new homes where we have empty space, but it's important to remember that a lot of the housing in Superior is historic and unique, and we have very historic neighborhoods as well, and we don't need to tear down a lot of these properties. In many ways, it can be much more economically viable and smart to restore a house rather than to tear it down and hope something new gets built in its place. So there's some unique programs that I've been looking at throughout the country that I think Superior that could work very well in Superior, and I'd like to get started trying them.
Mm-hmm. Now, Superior has not really capitalized on its waterfront for tourism to the same extent that Duluth has. It has somewhat. But what do you see as a vision for the waterfront?
Well, it's not just one vision, because we have several different unique types of waterfront in Superior: riverfront and industrial harbor and open wild lakeshore. And so we have to capitalize on those in different ways in each space. I think our wild lakeshore, we want people to experience it, but for it to stay a wild experience. Our industrial waterfront, we want people to see it. One of the exciting things that Duluth has always been able to do is allow people to see that harbor, especially in the Canal Park area, and we don't do that very well in Superior. So I want to put people close to it so that they can experience an authentic working waterfront. And of course, access is the most important thing. People enjoy their environment more when they can access it and experience it.
You'll be taking office on the 18th of April. What's the very first project you want to see taken care of as mayor?
Housing. I want to restore a house. It's going to take some work to create a new program to help people restore aging houses. And so I want to get to work on that right away so that we can get a family into a house that may have been otherwise lost. I want to accomplish that in 2017. But there's been a lot of press coverage as well about our Better City Superior project. That is moving through the Wisconsin legislature right now. So there's a lot of lobbying to be done and some aggressive work that we're going to need to do to continue to redevelop our downtown.
Do you think that Superior has a voice in Madison when you talk about lobbying?
I hope so. I know that Superior largely invented the concept of community-based citizen lobbying with Superior Days. It's been successful for, I believe, over 30 years. We do have relationships down in Madison. We are a unique community in Wisconsin. We are a large harbor. We are a city on the border of Minnesota with a large city next to us. We're an important city in the state of Wisconsin, and more importantly, we're looking out for ourselves. We're not going down to Madison with our hands out from the state. We're asking them to help us solve our own problems. And not a lot of other communities are doing that. So I think we will build alliances.
So what are you expecting from state lawmakers, particularly local state lawmakers? What do you need from them right now?
We need them to champion Superior, especially our local leaders, and they do our local state leaders. They do a very good job of that. And we need them to remind members of the legislature that we don't need anything from the state of Wisconsin.
Do you need more money from the state?
No. we want them to allow us to create an exposition district so we can impose a food and beverage tax within the city of Superior to help us do some development.
Where do you think Superior should really focus its business development efforts?
I am a big fan of our downtown. I think downtowns are making a comeback in the United States, and they are fun, exciting places to be. So I want to go all in on Superior's downtown. But in a broader sense, I think it's important for us to focus on the people that have been doing business in our community. We have a lot of legacy businesses, both retail, commercial, industrial, that have invested in the community for a very long time. So I want to make sure that we are growing the business that's already got stakes here in Superior.
We talked a little bit about waterfront, and there is a new port land use plan. Recommends really preserving that maritime industrial property within the Twin Ports. Do you think that's something that the City of Superior should adopt as far as those recommendations go and have that be part of your comprehensive planning?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I got to work as part of the county board of the Metropolitan Interstate Council. I got to work on that port use plan. And it's very important that we don't give up our industry or the culture of a working waterfront in Superior. What I want us to do is to be able to see and experience it. In much the same way Canal Park's development never interfered with ships coming into the harbor, we don't have to interfere with the industrial waterfront of Superior. We just want more people to be able to experience it.
Let's talk a little bit about your police and fire departments. Do you need more police officers in Superior?
I believe so. We probably need a few more police officers. The more pressing problem is that we have a lot of retirements, and in Superior, we have a very long lag between when a new police officer is hired and when he or she is able to get out on the streets. And so we do, I think, probably need to increase the overall size of the force, but we also need to take some steps to make sure that we are covering that gap a little bit better.
Does the fire department also need to grow?
I think our fire department is well-staffed now, but part of that is because we receive grants from the state that help us keep the staffing up. Those grants are expiring and sunsetting and reducing even if we're able to keep them. So we are going to have some budget challenges to make sure that our fire department stays adequately staffed, but I'm committed to doing that.
Anything specifically related to fighting the drugs that you mentioned earlier?
We, the City of Superior and Douglas County participate in the Lake Superior Drug Task Force, and I want to make sure that we are strong partners in that. I believe that they're doing a good job, but the problem really overwhelms law enforcement because it's it's not a problem that you can arrest or prosecute your way out of. We need to remember that our drug abuse problem throughout the Twin Ports is a mental health issue. And so Superior, Douglas County, and the state of Wisconsin, I think, need to make some strong commitments to fighting what really is a mental health crisis.
One of the things that it said on your website was that you believe the city has made some poor choices in how it raises revenues. What would you like to do differently in terms of the tax policy?
So when I wrote that, I was referring to the fees that Superior frequently charges. I'm not a believer that that's a fair way to raise revenues on people. Now, the city's budget is balanced on those, and I don't have a magic wand for budgets. That's not something I'm going to be able to fix in a single year. But I do want to use the benefits of new growth to start reducing the fees that we impose on our citizens, because the property tax, nobody likes taxes, but at least it's progressive and fair, so that everybody pays their fair share according to their means, whereas fees are assessed universally across the board regardless of a person's economic circumstances.
You have 2 years to prove yourself as mayor before another election. Are you saying then that you're not looking at raising property taxes at all for Superior residents in the 2 years you serve?
Well, it's hard to say that. I've been working on budgets for several years in the county board, and you have to assess each budget on its own. We don't know the projections of revenue that we will be receiving yet, or what's going to happen to the cost of services. So each budget has to be planned on its own, and the city council and my office will have to make those decisions about how we want to, what services we are going to prioritize, or whether we want to try and maintain property taxes at their level or reduce them. But again, I'm more committed to reducing fees than property taxes right now. Of course, we want to reach a budget where we can reduce property taxes permanently, but I think fees are what's really hurting citizens in the community.
Are you working with Mayor Hagan through this transition?
It's just been a couple days, but yes, I hope to. He's been a leader for a very long time, and I think he will have a lot of very good advice to offer.
And when do you officially take the position?
I'll be sworn in on April 18th, and I'll preside over that council meeting on Tuesday, April 18th, and then I'll be at work bright and early on Wednesday the 19th.
All right.
All right. Thank you so very much. Jim Payne, Mayor-elect, City of Superior. Congratulations.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
This is one of the more fun things to do. It's also real good to know when you have a good success story. We get a lot of eagles that don't have this kind of ending.
This bald eagle's flight to freedom began aboard Northwest Airlink, but the next leg would be up to him. 2 years ago, he was found along some railroad tracks with part of a wing missing. After being released, he turned up again.
The second time, my supervisor went and picked him up, and he came back and told me the story about having to chase this eagle through the woods, and the thing tried to foot him, and he was just a real nasty bird. And I didn't think much about it until we looked at the band number and realized this is the same bird we had 2 years ago. So.
The bird's reunion with Jeff Hines was less than heartwarming. This animal with the 6-foot wingspan had freedom on his mind. After a moment of reflection, it was time to go. Wildlife experts replaced a few of the bird's feathers before turning him loose. They say his chances back in the wild are good.
This bird seems to, even though he keeps running himself into problems, he definitely is a survivor and has an attitude like that.
It was a moment that onlookers would remember for the rest of their lives.
It's not every day that people get a chance to get a real up-close look at a bald eagle, especially one that is going to be released back in your neighborhood.
Hines and the rest of his DNR colleagues hope that's the last they'll see of the majestic bird, but not to worry. The nearby Chippewa National Forest is recognized across the United States as Eagle Country. In Grand Rapids, Ryan Davenport, KDLH News.
Minnesota Department of Transportation officials are gearing up for another season of road construction around this region. Work will resume on the Highway 23 reconstruction project in West Duluth on Monday. And of course, on the Iron Range, the Highway 53 relocation project, which includes Minnesota's highest bridge, ramping up again. So, joining us with an update on road construction this season is Dwayne Hill, MnDOT's District 1 engineer in Duluth. And Dwayne, thanks again for being here. You're no stranger to the program. Love having you on. Is this shaping up to be a big road construction season?
This is a little bit smaller than we've had the past couple of years. We have 26 new projects and about $90 million worth of work planned for this summer. So we were up over $100 million each of the last 3 or 4 years. So we're kind of, our transportation
down a little bit.
Our transportation funding is actually tailing off.
Is this because the lack of a bonding bill, or is that influencing things at all?
Not bonding. Bonding doesn't influence the trunk highway fund. Bonding influences local projects, but not trunk highway projects.
Of course, a lot of folks up on the Iron Range are still talking about, and will for a while, the last summer of road construction on the new bridge, the tallest bridge in the state of Minnesota, as the roadway changes between Eveleth and Virginia. Tell us about the project. Where is it now?
Okay, well, the contractor worked all winter, and so mostly on the bridge. So in the middle of January, they finished setting all the big steel beams on the bridge. And they spent a few weeks after that disassembling the scaffolding that was a temporary support in between the piers, holding up the beams temporarily as they assembled them. And they disassembled the big crane that they had on the project and hauled that away.
That was like the third largest crane in the country or in the world?
In the world, yeah. And then beginning in February, they started placing deck forms. And that took about 6 weeks, so mid-March, they were done placing the deck forms, and now they're in the process of placing rebar on top of that, on top of the forms. So in May, there will be the beginning of pouring the concrete bridge deck, and that'll take about 6 weeks, about 6 different pours to complete the bridge deck.
Have there been any unexpected challenges with that project? It was something that
Well,
looked almost impossible on the front end.
Yeah, the biggest challenge with the project was trying to figure out how to do it quickly. So we used a new process for contracting that MnDOT had only used one time before, called Construction Manager General Contractor. And that allowed us to have the contractor come and sit with us as we're doing the design. And actually, our goal was to execute a construction contract as soon as possible after we had approval for our environmental document, so we got the finding of no significant impact on our environmental impact statement. And shortly after, just a few days after, we were able to issue the construction contract, which normally we wouldn't even start design until after we had that finding of no significant impact issued. So we did that ahead of time at our risk, knowing that if we didn't do that, we'd never finish the project by the deadline.
Dwayne, when will that section of roadway open and the first automobiles start crossing the bridge?
So the contractor says they're ahead of schedule, and it looks like they're well ahead of schedule. And they're expecting to have traffic on the new roadway in August, and the old roadway completely removed, all the utilities removed, all the bridges removed from the old roadway, so that United Taconite can start working in that area by mid-September.
Wow.
Now, Highway 23 reconstruction in West Duluth going to be finished up again, or finished up this year, right?
It is. So
what was done already and what still needs to be done?
So we had 2 big projects on Highway 23, basically from Becks Road up to I-35. And so far we replaced box culverts at Knowlton Creek and Kingsbury Creek, and with bridges. We replaced all the pavement. We did new storm sewer systems along the entire corridor. Most of the sidewalk and curb and gutter has been installed, but so the remaining work is sidewalk, curb and gutter, and some minor storm sewer tie-ins along the missing portions of curb and gutter, and then final striping.
Is there still some work to be done on 210?
Yes, there is. So 210 is expected to be done by the end of the summer, so open for traffic. So our project there was about $20 million worth of soil stabilization. So we weren't doing a lot of work on the existing roadway, but we were trying to stabilize the slopes above and below the road that were damaged with the
Washed
flood.
away in the 2012 flood?
Yeah.
And for people who aren't familiar with that, that's out in the Jay Cook State Park area.
Yep, from Fond du Lac up to the Jay Cook State, or Jay Cook Road basically is where that project is. And and then towards the end of the project, we're going to resurface the roadway before we reopen it. So it'll be like a brand new roadway when we're done. Same curvy, beautiful character. The public will have their first chance to see the impacts of the storm damage. The ones that haven't snuck in there to take a peek at us.
Is there going to be a big reveal on that?
We're going to have definitely a celebration along with DNR, because DNR has just been waiting for this to be able to really unveil their park. So this is a big important part of the Jay Cooke State Park, is to be able to take that drive through the park along the river.
Did anyone think it was going to take 5 years when you started work on this after the flood?
Well, we kind of took our time starting, because we wanted to make sure that everybody was behind replacing the road before we started. So actually making the decision to do a project to stabilize the slopes and open up the road took over a year after the flood occurred. And then we spent quite a bit of time doing the design work before we executed this contract that we have. So we knew it was going to take a while. We were hoping to have it done last year, but we ran into some environmental issues that we had to address along the way, and it just took 1 year longer than we anticipated.
Tell us about the Highway 169 Eagles Nest project.
That's a 5.5 mile reconstruction project.
Big celebration planned.
There's a big groundbreaking celebration planned for Thursday. It's a brand new road, new pavement, shoulders, alignment, where it's going to be a much smoother alignment and profile than they currently have. There's been a history of a lot of crashes in this segment.
Yeah. Specifically, where is that located?
It's the road to Bearhead State Park is like right smack in the middle of this 5.5 mile project. So it's about 2.5 miles either side of that Bearhead State Park entrance road. That's the best way to describe it. So between Tower and Ely.
We had folks from the port on last week talking about the new intermodal, which always makes people think about what's happening with the can of worms.
Okay.
The interchange on 35 that some trucks have had some difficulties with over the years.
So my staff has been doing a lot of planning work on kind of developing concepts to replace the interchange. And so we solicited a little bit of public input early on when we started thinking about this, trying to understand what the community's concerns were, what the Port Authority's concerns were. And we've done survey work, we've done some preliminary concept drawings that are almost like sketches. We haven't done all the engineering behind the concepts yet. So we're in the process now of kind of sorting out which of those concepts are just crazy ideas and which ones could actually work. And then we're going to put some more engineering effort into the ones that make sense. And we'll be showing those to the public sometime this summer to try to get input on kind of what are the pros and cons of all the different ideas that we have. And the whole goal of improving the interchange is to make it better access for the oversized, overweight loads that leave the Port Authority's Clear Public Terminal, and also to improve the safety through the interchange.
Spring load restrictions are now in effect. Was it a particularly rough winter?
It was an easy winter for snow and ice overall. Spring came earlier than normal. So the end of the winter was pretty tame for our maintenance employees, and it was really difficult for the loggers. So they couldn't work in the woods, and we were contemplating putting those spring load restrictions on really early on, towards the end of February. And looking at the long-term forecast, we had some conversations with the logging industry and decided to hold off. And they actually held back on hauling during the really warm spells that we had, knowing that it was going to get cold again, and they wouldn't damage the roads. And then we finally had to implement spring road restrictions in March when it warmed up for good.
Will people experience a lot of detours, and if so, where can they find out how to avoid them?
So we're going to have some detours planned on Highway 53. There will be really good signing. They aren't going to send the traffic a long ways out of their way. We're constructing a detour for the 53 project that's going to be really convenient for the public. But for most of our projects, we're carrying traffic through. And there may be some intermittent delays, but there's not. We don't have long detours planned for any of our projects this summer.
And if people could just learn how to do that zipper,
Right.
everybody would move a lot faster.
Especially on I-35.
There you go. Okay, Dwayne Hill, MnDOT engineer, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the week's business news from our friends at Business North. Amsoil founder and board chair Al Amatuzio died at home March 31st at the age of 92. The entrepreneur was a jet fighter pilot who observed that synthetic oil was used by the military. He saw its advantages and went on to create the world's first synthetic oil certified for motor vehicles. Today, the company manufactures a full range of synthetic lubricants distributed worldwide. He has been recognized with a variety of awards, including Business Person of the Year at the 2011 Joel Leibovitz Entrepreneurial Success Awards.
Cliffs Natural Resources wants to produce iron briquettes on the Mesabi Range, but it needs high-quality ore from the former Butler mine in Nashwauk, the company's top executive said Thursday. But with that asset tied up in federal bankruptcy court, Cliffs CEO Lourenco Gongalves says the first Cliffs briquette plant may be constructed elsewhere on the Great Lakes. At Cliffs' annual regional briefing, he said state officials are divided on who should develop the Nashwauk ore. He restated his belief that a new suitor, Mesabi Metallics, lacks both financing and a buyer for taconite produced at the site.
Contract crews are beginning work on the final phase of dredging at an Ashland project where remediation is taking place in Chequamegon Bay. Late last month, the Environmental Protection Agency and Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources approved a final wet dredging plan to clean up the contaminants. The Superfund site includes property owned by Northern States Power Company. The full-scale plan was permitted following last year's successful pilot study that showed wet dredging was effective in meeting sediment, water, and air quality cleanup standards. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
So if you have a comment about our show, call now. Simply dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message or send an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org. And don't forget to check the WDSC website when you're looking for the latest program information, updates on station events, and other news from public TV. And Julie, predictions are we could hit 70 degrees in some parts of the region this weekend.
I hope it's my part of the region.
Me too. Not so sure by the lake, but out in the hinterland a little bit. So. For Julie and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Dennis Anderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.